What's up guys, Eli here, jamming out to the Black Seal album by Root. This is probably one of the last albums I really dug from them, maybe even the last one, but far from my favorite Root album, but it's still pretty fucking good, as you can hear. I'd recommend it, not as much as their first couple albums, but yeah, I just have a just a regular old collection video for you today. 10 CDs out of my collection, picking up where we left off last time, and oh man, I thought I had these motherfuckers in order. Hold on. Sorry. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Left off last time with Cryptopsy. I kind of discussed, my feelings on the band in general and certain albums. And the last one that I have is Whisper Supremacy, which is, I think it's the first album with Mike DeSalvo on vocals. Once again, if you didn't watch the last video, I really don't like Mike DeSalvo's vocals at all, not remotely. Came out in '98, so like most metal albums that came out, in '98, the horrendous cover art. But Cryptopsy, most of their albums have pretty horrendous cover art. This album is still very technical, like most of their stuff is. It's kind of a combination of both, both styles. There's still a lot of None So Vile type stuff on here, and there's still a lot of, this might be a high point in technicality. This is probably the most technical this band ever got, so it's, if you like technical death metal, you probably already know Cryptopsy, but if you don't, they're good. I mostly only like their first two albums, but, I own a couple of the others too. Here's another band that I do dig, and I had more of their stuff when I was younger, but I kind of lost most of it along the way, and I'm only really left with a couple albums that I don't really like anymore. That band being the Cultes. This is Ceremony. I really don't like this album at all. I did when I was younger. This came out in '91, so it's, I don't know, man. I do like the first like 2 or 3 Cult albums, but on this one, I don't really like the sound they're going for it. I mean, it's just kind of swagger biker rock. It sounds like an AC/DC album kind of, and I'm not too big on AC/DC, not these days, but I don't know. I really don't care for this album at all. And I also have, this one came out in '94. This is the self-titled album. I did like it when it came out, but it's kind of funny. We talk a lot about bands that are just kind of, changing with the times, to stay relevant. This is basically, like you can see some of them, they're wearing like flannel shirts and shit. This is a grunge album basically. But to be honest, I don't think, if you're into grunge, which, I'll admit I did like some of that shit back then, and some of it I still think is, kind of still sounds alright, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden. If you liked grunge, you might like this album. I don't know, I listened to it recently. I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I don't like it a lot, but I don't hate it. I don't know. Alright, now we'll get to some good stuff after this 3 albums that I really don't care that much for. Here's a band you all know. They've been making big waves for the last 6 years or so, something like that. We got Cultes Des Ghoules with their debut album, Haxan. Yeah, this is a really good album. This is the album that I prefer so far from what I've heard, and I've heard most of their stuff. This is what I like the most. Yeah, I don't know if they desecrated a rat or something, or if that's just a picture they found. Anyways, there's a dissected rodent or something. Yeah, this album's really good. Cultes Des Ghoules are from Poland, and man, this album is just barbaric and evil and ritualistic black metal at its very best, if you ask me. Recommended. This came from what? I can't read that. I'm not sure what record label this is, but yeah, go find it, man. Great album. You should be able to find it almost anywhere. Fucking fantastic. Also, I need to get their, a lot of their newer stuff, but I also have their second full length, which is called Henbane. This album is very, that cover art's hard to see. It's very dark. This one came from Hell's Headbangers, who I think they're signed to now. This album made a lot of waves, as really they have been as a band in general. But yeah, I think with this one, they really started to get that ball rolling. I don't know. It is a fantastic album. I just feel like I like their first one, Haxan. I just feel like I like that one a little more. I don't know. I don't know why. I do get a lot of enjoyment out of this one, but I feel like Haxan is just a little bit more savage, a little bit more unhinged. Let me know how you guys feel. They put out last year I think it was? Last year or the year before, they put out a 2-disc album, which is like it's like an hour and a half or almost 2 hours long. I haven't got it and I haven't heard it, but it sounds a little overwhelming, but I definitely do want to pick it up. I heard mostly real good things about that one too, other than the length is a little challenging, but I've heard it's a pretty fucking good album. Here's a band that made a lot of waves at one point too, and they just kind of disappeared. They had a as far as I know, I mean I haven't looked into it recently, but they had a demo out 5 years ago or something like that, and that got really good reviews, like everything they do, and I don't know what they're up to. I don't think many people do. That band is Cult of Daath with Slit Throats and Ritual Nights. Fantastic American black metal. Raw, savage black metal. You should know this. You should know this band. If you don't, and you're into black metal, I'm pretty surprised. I got this album from Deathgasm Records, licensed from Blood, Fire, Death, I guess. Fantastic 2-man black metal out of the U.S. They don't have a whole ton of material. They got some demos. I think that's their only full length, and I highly recommend getting it. And anything you can, buy that band. If you come across it, snag it up. All right, we have some of you guys may be familiar with this band. I haven't heard a lot of talk, and I mean, I can kind of get that. That band is called Cut Up. The album Forensic Nightmares. When I first saw this at one of my local shops, I was like, what the fuck? Cut Up. It's not a very good name. I mean, the cover art, it just looks like a generic brutal death metal album, and I don't like brutal death metal, modern stuff. So I passed on it for a while, and then finally I did kind of look into it, and it's this band is, I don't want to say continuation of what's the Swedish death metal band that disbanded 7-8 years ago maybe. God fucking damn it. I got a number of their albums. Anyways, you'll have to look it up because it's eluding me right now. I have several of their albums, and it's a Swedish death metal band, Vomitory. God damn it. I don't want to call it a continuation of Vomitory, but there are members in this band from Vomitory. I don't remember which members. I don't remember if they were live members or if they were. I want to say they were more recent members of Vomitory, but they are dudes that were in Vomitory. I've seen some people call this a continuation of that band. I wouldn't agree with that necessarily, but it's some pretty good just death metal. I did like this album. It didn't blow me away. This came out in 2015, I think. I think that's what it says. They had a new album out, I think, this year. So look into it if you like Vomitory. You like death metal in general. You don't take my word for it. Like I said, I wasn't blown away, but I enjoyed it. I got some enjoyment out of it. It wasn't a throwaway album, I didn't think. Here's a weird one in my collection. Actually, a few of these are. I don't know where I got this. It might have been given to me. I don't know. I've listened to it once or twice, and it's not really stuff I normally listen to, but I kind of like it. It's Underworld by a project called Dagda. It's from Ireland. I'm probably butchering that. It's pretty much like ambient music mixed with like some Enya type stuff. And I do like Enya, so this album is all. It's based on it's some Irish folk it's like a couple people from Ireland. It's like Celtic. It's all based, as you can see with the artwork and stuff. It's Celtic, Celtic mythology. So yeah, it's very atmospheric. It's very cheesy at times. But I don't know. It's kind of cool for what it is. I've literally really never heard anything like this, other than Enya is the closest comparison that comes to my mind. So. Enya also being from Ireland, that might be why. Maybe they're going for that type of thing. But if you like Enya, you might be into this. Here's another one. I bought this years back. I bought this back in 2005 before this guy was like a bona fide superstar. Not really, not into his stuff anymore at all. But hey, it's in my collection still. Daniel Tosh, True Stories I Made Up. This is some kind of double disc album. Yeah, I mean, I bought this literally on a whim. I'd never heard of this guy at the time. Tosh.0 wasn't a thing yet. Like I said, he wasn't a superstar. He wasn't a mega star. He wasn't on TV and shit yet. So it's all right. And he's a funny guy. I mean, it's just not the kind of comedy that I'm into these days. So, but I still have it. So I'm showing it. And for the last few, we're gonna crack into my my Danzig collection. I have most of his albums. I'm missing a few, and I need to get those. Need to rectify that shit. So yeah, we'll start off with the first, classic '88 debut. Fucking Danzig, '88, right? Yeah, pretty sure. What can I say, man? It's Danzig. I'm a big Danzig fan. I really like almost all this stuff, and you all know this song, "Twist of Cain," Mother. It's a fantastic album. I don't think I need to go into what Danzig sounds like. I feel like I don't really need to put much words into it. I feel like I shouldn't, because I think it'd be a waste of your time if you don't know who Danzig is. I'll just say a little bit. He was the singer for Misfits, their original singer. He was in Misfits. Then after he was in Misfits, he was in Sam Hain. After he was in Sam Hain, he went on to do a solo project called Danzig. And yeah, I feel like an idiot talking to you guys like you don't know who he is. Yeah, Danzig 2, Lucifuge. Fantastic album. I mean, I feel like I always kind of wanted to say for the first 3 or 4 albums he kind of got better and better with each album, but I mean, that's highly debatable. My favorite Danzig albums, always constantly changing. My favorite Danzig album has been the first album, it's been the second album, it's been the third, it's been the fourth. I'd have a hard time choosing nowadays. I'd probably go with 3 or 4, but yeah, not for everyone. I mean, a lot of you guys are going to watch this and kind of, like, you're probably saying some shit like, fuck that, fuck Danzig, I hate, it's not for everyone. Danzig's the kind of guy, you either love him or hate him, and I've been into his work for a long time, and I'm a fan. So yeah. Last up, we have Danzig 3 with a cool H.R. Geiger cover art. Really dig this album. The first 2 Danzig albums are kind of like, they could kind of be one album. They have pretty much the same sound. Very good songs, good songwriting, individual songs at that, but they're similar in sound and style. And this one is a bit different. This one's a bit more atmospheric, a bit darker, a bit more brooding, and while still retaining, the elements from the first 2 albums. But this one pushed the mark a little bit, and I really appreciated that. He would definitely experiment further on albums after this, but for me, this is kind of a perfect album as far as a Danzig album. It's got kind of everything you want from Danzig. I mean, he draws from different inspirations on this one. There's a lot of different sounding songs on this, and while still sounding like one album, he's not touching on different genres or anything, but his songwriting, he was definitely pushing himself a little bit more to do different things on this one. Some would say he took it a bit far after this, and I can't find myself to argue with that. I could totally get that, but I do like quite a bit of stuff that he did after this, but I think this was a high point. So that's all I got for now, guys. 10 CDs. Oh yeah, I also wanted to say R.I.P. Warrell Dane from Nevermore. I quite like Nevermore, and the funny thing is about that is I used to be really into Nevermore. Maybe 8-10 years ago, I started to kind of like weed out some stuff in my collection to get rid of some shit that I didn't listen to, and I came across my Nevermore CDs, and I was like, I don't really listen to these guys anymore. It's too much of a modern sound. I'm just not into this. And so I got rid of them, traded them off, or sold them or whatever. And when I got the news, Warrell Dane died, I went and like, fuck, I'm going to go listen to some Nevermore albums. And listened to a couple of them, and I realized, I'm like, man, I still like Nevermore. This Godless Endeavor, second to last album they did, was really good. Their final album was a piece of shit. They had no inspiration at that point. But Godless Endeavor, I can't really remember the names. Was it like their third album? Ecstasy of Politics was really good. Dead Heart in a Dead World. That's I really like that one. Good band. I think it's funny when sometimes you think you're not into something anymore, and almost a decade goes by and you revisit it and you're like, oh, I still like this. But I really like Sanctuary, which was the pre-Nevermore band. I've always been a bigger fan of Sanctuary, so I think I'm gonna go crank some Sanctuary tonight. I have their debut album, and I have a compilation or something that they did after that. But if you're an old school metal guy, I mean, you probably know Sanctuary. It's kind of like 80s US power metal, fast, very fast soaring vocals. World Dane could really hit some high notes back then. In Nevermore, you heard him age, and you heard his voice become a little bit deeper, and he did a good job of utilizing his voice. He did a good job at not trying to do things that he couldn't do anymore. Some singers can really do that. Some of them try to hold on to what they used to be able to do and embarrass themselves by not being able to do it anymore. And I feel like he didn't do that. So that sucks. We're losing these guys kind of one by one lately. I mean, as you get older, the people just start to die. So, anyways, R.I.P. World Dane. Go listen to some Nevermore. Listen to some Sanctuary if you're a big music snob, and I only like 80s stuff. Sanctuary should be right up your alley. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk later. Cheers.